Welcome to a very special episode of Film Hooligans. This is Film Hooligans Behind the Lens. I'm your host, John the host, and I am joined by my co-host, as usual, Mr. Jason Alt.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us.
This is a brand new series where we are fortunate enough to talk to filmmakers, indie filmmakers around the world, and talk about their process. If you've listened to Film Hooligans in the past, you know that Jason and I love to talk about not only the films themselves, but the people that make them, and to do a deep dive on these. And we were fortunate enough to review By Night's End from this gentleman right here, Mr. Walker Whited. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Man, I could have sworn you were going to say Walter White just for a second.
Missed opportunities.
All right. Thanks for having me. That's awesome.
No, thank you. I know you're a busy man, and just being able to actually talk to the filmmaker behind this film, that I could safely say that Jason and I very much enjoyed.
Cool. That was the goal. So thanks. I appreciate it. It's been nice hearing that because, like, from the start, it wasn't like, all right, we're going to make the world's most renowned movie, or we're not trying to make some Sundance, or let's just try and make something entertaining with what we have. So it seems like it's worked so far.
I think that was accomplished, right, Jay? I mean, you like this. You were surprised by this one quite a bit.
I didn't know what to like. Anytime we get a screener, it's sort of like, well, this could be anything. So I was really impressed by the product, but I think we were most impressed with some of the choices you made, and I think we'll get into that a little bit later. But sure. Yeah, we can start at the top, John. What do you got?
Yeah, so kind of the most generic question, but it's always one that I'm interested in just because I like hearing, kind of origin stories and what sets, people on the track of becoming a filmmaker. So what did initially spark your interest on becoming a filmmaker in the first place, Walker?
Oh, I've wanted to be involved in film in some aspect forever. I mean, I remember in kindergarten saying I was either going to be, I think we had a little thing we had to write down, what are you going to be when you grow up? And I think I wrote James Bond, a rock star, or an actor. And I went to Georgia Tech for a little while and studied international affairs, and that didn't work out. I wasn't interested in that. So I said, I guess I won't work for the CIA. So James Bond was out. I was in a band for a while. That didn't work out. So rock star was out. Oh. So finally I was like, all right, well, let's go to film school. Let's see what happens, and let's sink or swim. And I went to Georgia State for film. And that was kind of pointless, but I did it anyways. So I always say I went to the school of YouTube because it was just kind of doing what I can and watching YouTube videos and tutorials and writing and constantly trying to make shorts and stuff, that usual thing. And I was valeting while I was in college, and eventually I just got sick of it all and said, all right, I'm going to sink or swim. Let's quit everything and go try and make films, or, I was really focused at post-production. And here we are 4 or 5 years later, and I haven't sunk yet, thankfully. So.
Well, it's really interesting. It seemed like this was like the last thing on your possible dream jobs that you checked off your list, because it seems like you found a decent amount of success at this.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good, I guess. I mean, there's ups and downs with everything, but you know how film is too. It's like everyone sees it as magical and wants to do it, or wants to be involved somehow. At least I always did. And but no one tells you can be a part of it. Everyone tells you to go get a safe job. Everyone tells you to go to Georgia Tech because you got in. So it was just that kind of coming to the realization, especially when Atlanta started booming with film, where it was like, oh, this is all around me. Maybe I can go be a part of that. So kind of not listening to the adults and actually going and doing what I wanted to was, I guess, the best decision I've made so far. And
I think that was a really good idea for Georgia to pass those tax incentives, because Michigan was doing that for a while, and then we got a Republican governor who's like, nah, I don't want to pick winners and losers on these tax programs, so I'm cutting everything. And then they made Gran Torino, and then nothing after that. So the fact that there's so much going on in Atlanta, like Adult Swim, like all the Williams Street stuff going down there, they're shooting Walking Dead and all that stuff, them doing like all the studios that make Archer and stuff like that.
Tons of like every Marvel movie in the past few years has been shooting here. I mean, it's wild.
It's such a good thing to have those incentives for the industry, and I didn't take that much, but like it's been worth it.
Yeah, I mean, and the economy obviously grows out of it too. So it's, I don't know. To me, it seems win-win, but I'm also not a politician, so.
There seems to be pronounced results, rather, when people go all into, like you said, you went all in on this, where people do things part-time, whether it be content creation or filmmaking or music-wise, whether they have to support their family or not. Everyone has their own reasons for dipping their toe into things, but I could tell that this film was made by someone that was kind of all in and had a affinity towards this type of thing. Like, you seem to have a complete affinity towards action thriller type projects. Who are some of your influences in the genre, and what other type of genres would you be interested in exploring?
Yeah, I've always loved action in general. So, I grew up on the Bond movies. Like, James Bond was my thing growing up. Movies, like, as I started kind of noticing how movies were made and really actually paying attention to things like Behind Enemy Lines, I always kind of equate that to the movie that really got me into it, because I started going, oh, cameras don't have to be perfectly still. You can do snap zooms and stuff. You're seeing like it. That was me noticing an artistic style that a director was going for. So action movies and stuff like that, I really had an affinity for, just in general action. And then now, where I am now watching movies, I just love crimey, gritty movies, things like I always forget how you say her name. I think it's Karen, but it looks like Karin Kusama's Destroyer. I don't know if you saw that. Things like A Walk Among the Tombstones, the Liam Neeson movies, just those gritty. I don't know if you've seen like I don't know the director's name, but the Korean movie The Man from Nowhere. I watched that for like the millionth time last night. Just characters going through something. It's not gigantic and it's not the biggest story ever. It's just really character based. And when something does happen, someone gets shot or some, big plot twist happens, it's not the end of the world, and it's not a giant building exploding, and it's not the universe is threatened. Of course I'm referring to Marvel, but we all love Marvel movies. But when those big things happen, it's big for that movie. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I like the smaller,
more intimate settings,
gritty, intimate stuff. Yeah. I don't remember what the question was, to be honest.
No, that's good. That's what we wanted,
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting. I'm going to go off book a little. You mentioned like the School of YouTube. I kind of felt like the Code series kind of felt more like a YouTube project, but by its end, really.
Codes. I was just gonna say Codes. Those things are like what I equate to like where I learned and where I could play. Like the first Codes Abided, it was like, how much stuff can we leave out, like not getting inserts and just kind of dropping us into the middle of some kind of story. Can we hint at what's going on and then kind of figure it out at the end? And then I just liked the characters so much. I thought, what if we do a story for each of these characters and keep playing and keep learning? And we just kept doing that. Codes Commanded, it was, practically and safely, let's do stuff with blank firing weapons. We had armors and city permission permits and all that. Learned a lot on that, where, we would shoot a gun, but we didn't have squibs or anything. So, okay, we won't shoot the reverse, which was stupid in hindsight. I mean, it doesn't really make sense, but we still learned a lot. So
it's all learning. Yeah.
And then we did Codes Dealt, which was all in a, just talking stuff all in a bar. And there it was learning dialogue and how do we move these characters from this place, block them to get them into this place. And now we cross the line and now we switch this, getting different angles, but still trying to keep it interesting. And those I really equate to just, School of YouTube / School of my Codes Abided series.
Yeah, Jason's made fun of me for a while because it took until last year reviewing Sam Mendes films till I finally saw my first Bond film. So
what? Oh my god! I'll give you a list. There's a whole list. I wrote this down somewhere recently. It was like a list of the ultimate Bond movies you need to watch.
Okay.
It was like breaking it down to like 10 or less.
What's the go-to?
I mean, I always go for Goldfinger because it's classic and it really, like, I think that movie sets up what James Bond should be like.
Okay.
Of course, it doesn't hold up very well now. There's some sexist stuff and stuff like that, of course, but that you couldn't do now and you shouldn't do now, obviously. But and then I also go to GoldenEye, Pierce Brosnan, because it's just awesome.
I loved the N64 game for sure.
Right. Yeah.
My appreciation of that movie has really gone up over the years. I think I was like, oh, here's another Bond movie when it came out. because I was like 12 or something. But like that one in particular, I think really holds
There's
up. Probably
so
better than
much good
anything
stuff in
Brosnan
that
did.
movie. Martin
Yeah.
Campbell is one of the greatest directors, I think. He did The Foreigner, that Jackie Chan movie that came out two,
Yeah.
3 years ago. I love that movie. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but
Well,
that's one of those
it
movies
wasn't
where,
a Jackie Chan movie at all, but like I really
right,
liked it.
yeah, Jackie Chan made me cry. What? Come on.
Yeah, because his movies are always so fun and goofy, and this was just
Yeah,
like, nope, yeah, it's like a Korean revenge movie,
right. But that's
almost
Martin
like.
Campbell for you. I think that's his style, really, is that intimate, you know. He did Edge of Darkness with Mel Gibson. It was another one of those gritty, dark, intimate movies. And then he also did Green Lantern, which, whatever. We'll ignore that.
Somebody had to.
Yeah.
Just wanted to try. Going back to your film, By Night's End is filmed almost exclusively using stunt performers. How did you make that choice for casting, and how did you have access to so many talented stunt performers?
Yeah, so one of our producers, Ryan Dennett Smith, I met him, 5 years ago or so, trying to do a little series called Fire Amends, which originally was going to be like, I think it was a series, like a little under 10-minute 5-part series, and then I was like, oh, we could turn it into a 40-minute thing, and then I was like, oh, we could shoot in 3 different blocks and turn it into a feature. And of course, I was naive and dumb and didn't have any money, so we started shooting it. He was our first AD, and he's blown up into this crazy producer and just like met all these people. So a lot of it is on his part because he just knows everyone and introduces me to all kinds of people. But the other thing was Michelle, who is the lead in By Night's End, was the secondary character in Fire Amends. So I've known her for years and been trying to do something with her. So when this script came around, it was like, oh, Michelle could do this because there's fights, there's, or at least the idea was there would be fights and drama and, stuff to really show her acting chops. So I wrote with her in mind. And then the stunt choreographer, Keith Davis, I'm not really sure where I met him, but I know I've known him for a while through Ryan probably. And then they just brought people to the table, like Matt, the guy who plays Tom, stunt guy, local guy, fantastic. Troy, who's the guy she kills in the crawl space. I camera operated on one of his music videos because he's also a rap artist on the side. And
That's awesome.
it's just that thing, in Atlanta, anywhere, just get out there, meet people. You never know who you're going to work with and want to work with in the future. So
I think that a lot of times that like stunt performers, they already have to do the hard things, right? And then you never know when your moment is, and someone gives someone like a talking scene or a chance to actually do it. And that's why everything, at least for me, came off super authentic because they already had the hard choreography down, right? It's just like then you just had to do the speaking lines, and especially Michelle Rose was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I knew she'd be able to handle the fight stuff. And then I'd done a little bit with her on the acting side. So, the stuff in the attic particularly was just really to see what she had and give her something juicy to play with. She delivers like a 2-page monologue telling a story, which that idea came from watching a crap ton of The Blacklist. And, every single episode, James Spader tells a story, and it's like, how the frick can this guy just tell you a story and you're like enthralled the whole time? And I was like, let's try it. Let's see if we can do that. Let's see if she can do that. And I love that scene. I think it worked out. But yeah, so that was where that came from. And she nailed it, of course.
Do you think that somebody who does a lot of stunt work might have sort of an advantage of maybe understanding more of the process and therefore being able to bring that to their acting? Because you got a really good performance out of Michael Aaron Milligan, who probably like divides his time somewhat equally between stunt work and acting.
He's not a stunt guy, actually. He's mainly an actor. I think he's done a little bit, but he's mostly an actor. He had a recurring in 24 Legacy when that came back. He was one of the computer tech guys, and he's in everything. He's in 3 Billboards. He's in all kinds of stuff, but he's mainly an actor. So again, writing with him in mind, I've been trying to work with him for a while.
Well, he did acting and stunts in 3 Billboards, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, yeah? Is that what he was credited with? Huh? I don't know what it's called.
He actually got both.
I guess he did that fight in the parking lot or whatever it is. I can't remember. But it was probably just him being like, a small stunt that he knew he could do. But Mike's one of those guys, too, who's like, if you let him do it, he'll do it. So But he's not like I don't think he goes and trains to be a stunt guy. So
We kind of touched on this before a little bit about just filming in Georgia and how that has just kind of become a hub for movie making. It has a lot of known benefits. Is this region in particular something that you want to use often, or is it like whatever the story or the plot that you're working on dictate the location?
region is in like where we shot, or just Atlanta in general?
Yeah, just did you want to like this? Do you have any affection to display Atlanta like a love letter? You think of like Michael Mann as such a Chicago and an LA person, or certain filmmakers have their spots because they're from there, they know it so well.
I mean, I definitely write with Atlanta in mind just because I know it, but it's also just, I mean, story based. It's, as long as the story fits it, I don't really mind. But I do really want to do some kind of actiony Atlanta thing where we're in the streets of Atlanta, because Atlanta's a weird city. Like nothing, most cities are set like a grid, and Atlanta just is like spaghetti, goes all over the place, and it's just a cool looking city. So I mean, everything's based on story for sure, but if I ever had the chance to, if someone wants to give me $50 million and let me shoot a movie.
Yeah. You're like, let's go to Hawaii.
Didn't have
whatever.
Quite $50 million for this movie. But like it didn't really seem like you scrimped at all, because I think the claustrophobic setting really served the story in particular.
Yeah, that was the goal. So we're in the house. I don't know if you recognize behind me, there's a scene that takes place in his office. This is my house that we shot in. So it was out of necessity. It was just, I want to make movies, and to make movies, you need to have made a movie. So one night I came up with the idea, and I got up and wrote it down, and I was talking to Jason Wynn, another one of our producers, in his driveway, and he said, I want to go out in the woods and just shoot some kind of monster movie, for no money with our friends. I was like, oh, wait, I've got an idea that we can shoot in one location in my house. What if we did that? And he said, yeah, heck yeah, let's do it. And of course, it wasn't no money. We spent $26,000 on the day. That's the budget of the movie, because crew was deferred, and my business partner and I do post-production. So, that was a huge chunk taken out.
You had to fix the wall in your bathroom afterward.
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, Philip, our DP, is a manly man and helped me figure that out. But yeah, so it was cheap movie, and technically it was no budget, but that was, at the forefront. It wasn't, we're just going to do this to do this. It's Sean, my business partner, and I have always said, like, yes, doing projects is good to learn, but why do it just to do it? Why are we not trying to make, like, why would you make something and the audio sound like complete shit and then you put it out there? Like, I don't get that. I will never do that. You know what I mean? And if I do, you can come back and cancel me, I guess. But
well, Lindsey Graham your ass, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But so that was our goal. It's just like, okay, we're gonna set this look from the start in pre-production. We did a ton of pre-production, a ton of planning, so we knew what was going on. I like to know what's going on at all times. So I don't love winging it. Things change, of course, but and things need to sound good, of course. So if it's not sounding good, let's do it again. And it just came down to, again, post-production, mixing the heck out of it, and coloring the heck out of it. And thanks, I appreciate you saying it looks good. I mean, yeah, $26,000, and I'm super proud of how it came out.
So there's a couple of shots I wanted to bring up. I'm sure you know one of them, but the other one was one John and I both independently remarked on, which is early in the film. There's a tracking shot from the backyard through the wall into the house. Can you talk a little bit about like your decision for that and how you accomplished something like that?
Yeah, you're talking about, we're on the porch in that one mini master, they're talking around the grill, and then we go into I think it was about the week before we were shooting, Philip and I, the DP, were planning the shots for that. And I just get bored easily. So I was like, yay, dialogue, whatever. How do we make this more interesting? Again, going back to that like codes dealt thing of how do we move them, block them from here into the kitchen and keep it interesting. And I got to go out on the porch. And I thought we could shoot the master here and the windows right there. There's got to be a way we can just slide through and go right into the next master. And I love keeping things in longer takes, and I don't love inserts, cut to her opening the door and stuff like that. It's necessary sometimes, but So we literally just opened the window and put a Dana dolly in there, GH5, and passed it through the window. And Hayden Mason, who's our gaffer, who also does VFX, put a window in afterward.
It was super effective, and it was really early into the review. And Jason and I don't usually discuss anything beforehand because we like to get reaction or whatever. And just the fact that we both picked this one shot in this action film of just the transition.
That's funny.
It was just really well done, because we could think of so many other filmmakers with huge budgets, household names of can't execute something as fluid as that, and that was just super impressive.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's one of those things too. There's another day where it was just all dialogue all day, and of course we were getting masters and close up. It was essentially it was like masters, her coverage, his coverage, two shot, done. All day. It was just that kind of thing. It was getting monotonous, and I was like, all right, everything looks good, but I'm not bored, but you know what I mean? Let's get something interesting. So we went out on the porch and got that shot of Kurt looking out into the trees, and we just kind of dolly past him and look up into the trees. And I was like, cool, there's that was just our fun artsy shot of the day. So I'm just kind of into that, yes, let's get what we need to get, but hey, now that we have time, let's try and if we have an idea, let's put it in there, because we might not use it, but if we do, awesome, there's a fun little shot. Also, this just popped in my head, the going through the window, we also planned things like that, like the first opening oneer, the 3-minute oneer. There's shots like that we planned because we don't have named casts, so how do we get people's attention? So it's like, oh, what if we stylize some of these shots like that? And again, there's story points to them all. I always want to say that. I don't like shooting just to shoot. It has to make sense to the story. And, but yeah, there was a commercial thought going through my head. Maybe that's a sad thing to say, but I needed the movie to sell. So,
yeah.
So the other shot I think Joe and I both really liked was the slow-mo final shootout scene.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I read somewhere you said you did that all in camera. Is that true?
Yeah, in the finale in the red room, and she's diving and shooting. Yeah. So I stole that idea from. I've never told any of this. I mean, I've told crew members, but I haven't said it on the thing. I stole that idea from. I'm looking at my Blu-rays. Oh, the movie Welcome to the Punch. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Excuse me. It's a James McAvoy movie directed by Aaron Creevy.
Okay.
Little in quotes, $5 million movie. I think it was IFC channel, and I freaking love that movie. Mark Strong, James McAvoy, just a ton of names you recognize. But there's a scene in that where they wanted to do a huge shootout. It's beginning of the third act. They want to do a huge shootout. In the script, they chase people through the neighborhoods and all, and they're like, oh, we don't have any more money. We can't do it. Oh, what if we shot at 200 frames a second? And so, of course, I'm like, well, that's freaking brilliant. Let's do that for an indie movie. We can't do a huge shootout, so let's slow it way down. But we didn't have blanks or anything, so what we added that we figured out in pre-production was those big flashes of light for every gunshot. Philip had these little camera flashes, I guess, from the 60s. They're just little light bulbs. So we'd rig them up to a clamp on a C-stand, and then the wire would run to the actor. So they had a button. If you look closely, there's a shot of Milligan. You can see the wire going down his arm in one of those scenes. And so when they fire, the button's either on their trigger finger or, on their thumb, somewhere on the gun. So when they shoot, they hit the button at the same time. Slide goes back. You get that huge flash, 5 frames of flash. And I freaking just love that. Just the physicality of that light was so cool, because it's not. I hate in low budget action movies when the gun is shooting. It's that crappy M16 star flash over and over and over. It's that's not how guns work. And yeah, guns probably wouldn't work like this either. They wouldn't fill a room as crazy as this. But at least it's some kind of physical, interesting, different, I guess, look to it. Where now there's shadows on the wall and stuff like that. I think you feel it. You feel the physicality and the realness of it. So
lights, I think that didn't really take me out of it. Like I bought that. You know how bright the flashes were with like everybody not being adjusted in night vision. So all of a sudden, like their pupils are super small, and then these bright flashes are going off. Like, yeah, I was super into that.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, I don't know if you could get away with it on every movie doing that, but being in like this cramped space, I think it really worked and helped just kind of sell. Also helped sell that it's a airsoft gun and not a real blank firing gun or anything. So
sure.
We didn't have to do muzzle flash. I mean, I'm picky about CG muzzle flash, so I do it all, but it was awesome not having to do any. So
my favorite shot of the entire film, the moneyest shot, is when she kind of escapes the basement. And by the way, I just love how it's such a confined space, and you use every single inch of everything. You went to the attic, to the basement, to the underground, and that was great. Like you utilized a shed in your backyard. Like everything was utilized, which, yes, everything's confined, but it's just like, how do we do this kind of cat and mouse thing effectively? And you get to go, and what sold that the best is that scene where she's literally outside hiding from everyone, and you do like the whole 360 almost of the entire house, so you could see what's going on inside with people reacting, going in and out of rooms. Was that hard to choreograph, or was there any like special tricks on that one?
No, it's all in camera. There's no CG at all. It's all one shot, and there's no stitches or anything. It's literally just one camera shot. And it took a while to figure that out. But again, part of it was commercially, if we did a big one, or maybe people find that interesting. But the other part from the start was story-based. It's just her, finally her military taxes are kicking in.
Sure.
So now she's scouting it out, seeing where all these guys are, trying to make her move and figure out when to strike. But it was tough. It was out of necessity, we had to do it because it was like, we have no money. What can we do that is interesting here? But also it was story-based. But Philip and I planned that thing forever. I mean, he got to a point where he was like, I can't talk about this anymore because I'm just going to ruin it if we keep talking about it. And there were so many iterations of it, too. There were iterations where she went all the way around the house. There were iterations where there were just so many. And finally, he was like, why don't we go through the house? And I just didn't think it was possible. And, of course, he was like, no, of course we can do that. So we went through the house, landed on that final thing where we leave her for a while. There were other iterations where we're always with her, and we landed on that one where we leave her, we go inside, we're with the bad guys, and then we land back with her. But we only had one day to do it, and we shot the movie in 12 days, so we didn't have a ton of time. So we had technically half a day to do it, because we did that and the crawl space fight in one day. So we went down to the crawl space, did that fight, came up. I walked everyone through the oneer twice, and then we rehearsed it a few times, and then we shot it 12 times. And then on top of that, we had a lightning delay, so we were down for 2 hours. Jeez. So that was a fun day.
How packed were your days if you shot the whole thing in 12 and you were doubling up on big shots like that?
I mean, it wasn't as bad as it could be. It was like an 85-page script, so I think we probably shot around 10 pages a day. I mean, that's pretty rough, but it honestly wasn't as bad as it could be. But I come from editing, too, so I kind of think, I know that helps a lot, because I come to set knowing how it's going to cut, so I know when I've got it, essentially, So I really don't overshoot. I don't get a ton of coverage. I mean, from school of YouTube and doing all the codes films, I've learned to get more than I need, but I don't get I don't shoot the heck out of it. So
I'm having to do it 75 times and use the second take.
Exactly. I mean, we out of time and necessity, we maybe get 5 takes max, but we'd also rehearse beforehand, so we could kind of work out the kinks hopefully. But yeah, it's really, okay, I know how it's going to cut, get this, get that. Okay, cool, let's go to the next thing. So, and it helps that we're in one location, so we're not doing company moves or anything. It's just, all right, everyone into the bedroom now.
You trying to say that Stanley Kubrick was wrong, Jason? What was that about? Yeah. Does that kind of neck-breaking schedule kind of keep an energy and a buzz going throughout the entire, does that kind of like energize the crew and the cast more to be like, oh, hey, we got a very finite amount of time?
I don't think so, because I'm second unit directing a movie right now, and it's a movie. It's only 60 pages, but they're calling it a feature, and they're shooting it in 5 days. And holy shit.
Jeez.
I'm freaking tired. So to say that on that shoot, people seem kind of meh. But here people seem pretty happy. I mean, that was a goal, was to keep it. Yeah, we're moving pretty quickly, but guys, let's have fun. And on the day we did the finale, the action scene, holy crap, I hated it. At the end of the day, when I went to bed, I was like, I don't know if I want to go back tomorrow. Like, what is going on? And I just realized, because the next day we got back into dialogue, I realized I don't like having to reset for stunts. I don't, it was just, I just realized I don't like to do the stunty stuff as much. I don't like to take forever. I just get antsy. So, I mean, there was a lot of work, but I don't think it energized. But people were happy. I mean, we've gotten that comment from so many crew members that it was one of the best movies they've ever worked on, just because, it was, like, as cliche as it sounds, a little family. It was cool.
That's excellent. And you collaborated on the story of By Night's End with Sean McCain. Do you prefer the writer-director process, or more of like the collaborative process? Like, does the latter free you up more to focus on the directing aspect and the editing aspect?
No, well, Sean's role kind of in this is, he's my business partner, so his role, he has a story credit, so it was really just like, hey, Sean, does this work? Can you help me work out the story a little bit? And then I actually write the script. And but I love collaboration. I think that's the number two, excuse me, that's the number 2 tool that a director has, is collaboration. Number 1 is communication. If you can't communicate, then you're kind of effed, and if you can't collaborate, then you're just should probably quit.
Also effed, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I love collaboration. I'm not the best at collaborating on script. I'll be the first to admit that, because I'm a terrible note receiver, and I definitely will get better at that on the next movie. But if there is a next movie, hopefully, fingers crossed. But I love the writer-director role, just because you know how it is, a million ideas going through your head. It's just write it down and let's see where it goes. I mean, during quarantine, I wrote 3 features, because here's an idea and I'm excited about it, so let's write it. And I'm stuck in the house with nothing else to do, so might as well. And of course, I'll take those and get notes and get help with them as well. But yeah, I have a script on hand I really want to make that I didn't write, and I'm really interested to see how that'll go, because I've only honestly ever shot one thing that I didn't write. And it was fun. It was fine, and it was great, but I'm interested to see how a feature will go that I didn't write, because it's not that I have control issues, but I do like to write, so I like to rewrite things, and if things sound fake or flimsy, I want to change it. So I like having that control, at least.
What was the thing you shot that you didn't write? Curved?
No, well, yeah, I guess there was that too. Forgot about that. That was kind of like a little comedy series, which was, again, kind of a test for me, because I don't really do comedy, so I wanted to see what happened. But it was called The American Dream, a short about a Latino family that gets split up by ICE. And yeah, I didn't write that because I'm not Latino, so. But we took on the project because it was an awesome story. So.
By someone named Kimberly Bustamante. How did you meet her?
Kim Bustamante. She is, I don't know, honestly, just that same thing, like film, family, community thing. She was dating a guy. I think at the time she was dating Aaron, who was in the first Codes movie that I did, Codes Abided. So I think it was like a girlfriend of someone. And anyway, she wrote something. It was like, hey, I want to be a writer. Would you guys be interested in shooting this? And so that same small community thing.
And you posted a video on Twitter about the bathroom redecorating in the film. That's one of Jason and I's favorite scenes, of course. Were there any other happy accidents, as David Lynch says, that you could share, or just fond memories from the shoot?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the bathroom wall, of course, if you see that video, you see their reaction, like, oh, no. With that, I can tell a quick story that the first short I ever did, we had a fight scene. And same exact thing happened. Guy kept hitting a wall and went through the wall, and probably should have learned. But as we were doing this fight scene, she hit the wall 2 takes. We had to go for a 3rd take, and I leaned over to Sean and I said, "Hey, remember that first short we ever did? Remember that guy went through the wall? That's about to happen. Watch. Action." He went through the wall. I was, it was fine. It looked cool. Obviously, great production value. So
right.
Well, I noticed in the clip you posted on Twitter, like everybody, when that happened, kind of stopped and laughed.
Yeah.
It was nice how you managed to seamlessly like get the shot and use it.
I thought we were screwed. She reaches over, she goes to the wall and then has to reach for the toothbrush. And she was having trouble getting the toothbrush and holding on to it for that final swing. And it happened a few times where she slipped and didn't get it. And it happened right after she broke the wall. I was like, crap, I don't know how we're going to cut around this. And then, of course, there's that great shot of him, Tom prepping and then going into the bathroom after that saved us. But
yeah,
I thought we were kind of screwed there.
Because you could kind of lean her against the wall and then she could stand up and you're like, oh, it's broken behind her.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
That was cool.
That's so cool.
If you look closely in a scene later, it's before in the movie, but we shot later where Kurt's sitting in the bathroom talking on the radio. If you look in the corner, you can see our rough fix of the wall.
Yeah, I did go back and look at that. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
That's funny.
Happy accidents. The scene in the hallway where they're sitting together and we finally get that beat of like, oh, they're a couple. They're still, physically attracted to each other and everything. That's my favorite scene in the movie, and that was a total mishap. I mean, the scene originally was supposed to be something completely different, but there was a wardrobe miscommunication or something, and we had to come up with something new. And I just kind of went out and wrote something really quick and thought, oh, we haven't really put them in the hallway. What if, we've had all this dialogue and all this stuff happen. Let's just have a quiet moment where they just sit together in the hallway in the floor. And I love that scene so much. So that was an accident.
Well, I think it was actually important to kind of reground their relationship a little bit because, she really just kind of took over and kicked into ex-military mode, and he was sort of like, oh, shit, who is this woman I married? So, I don't think my husband's a pussy or whatever. Like, I'm just trying to help. I don't know. I liked it. I thought that was, and to hear that was an accident, I think that's cool to hear some of the stuff that I really thought was a good choice. You just sort of went for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think she thinks he's a pussy, but I think he, he was making some quick decisions and it obviously backfired and he thought he was in charge. Because that was kind of my whole thing for his character was like, your manliness, or, quote unquote manliness, whatever you want to call it, is like totally stripped from you. Like you don't have a job, you are not making money, you guys are kind of struggling. You feel like you lost your kid because of you. Like, I think the decisions he's making are ridiculous, of course, but I think they're rational in that kind of mindset for him, because he's trying to regain something. And of course it all backfires. So now she's got to step in and go, okay, we got to get this back on track,
Yeah, it was really interesting. He was making these poor decisions from like this weird, outdated masculinity. And she's sort of like, look, this is my area of expertise. So why don't you just let me handle it?
Right.
But it was all, I think either, I don't remember if I said or Jason said it in the review of the film, is that this is so relatable in this year. Like By Night's End is it's the best time to see a movie like this in the year 2020 because everyone's losing their job and everyone's in dire straits.
Yeah.
And you could translate the loss of the loved one, to whatever.
That's true.
It wasn't a COVID thing, obviously, in the film, but that kind of sentiment would really connects with people right now. And that's another thing that kind of made me buy the movie and made me buy the plot a bit more. Everything's super believable because, every household's affected right now in some way or another, or at least people know someone that is affected. And so it's just it's a very relatable movie with a ramped up kind of situation that happens, You have this groundedness to it, and then you have moments of arrow going through someone's neck. I think at that point, Jason live DM'd me, and he's just like, "This movie rocks."
Thanks. But that was the other thing too. You're saying like it was grounded, but it was also cinematic. Like that was the thing we kept saying throughout it, especially for lighting. It was like, yeah, when a car backs up to a window, it's not going to be this red, and the light outside the street lamp is not going to be that orange coming through the windows.
Mm-hmm.
But what I kept saying is, it's a movie. Who gives a shit? Like, if we're gonna make a movie, let's make a movie. I like amping up some of that stuff. We kept calling it like hyper realism. There's realism in there, but it's just cinematic, is what I kept saying. Let's just amp it up just a little bit, and I think it works. I mean, I love the lighting. Philip freaking killed it. So.
Yeah, I was just like, the audacity of this, first time feature maker shooting outside in the dark with rain, with like it's super dark lit inside, but you never are just like, oh God, I wish someone would like turn up the dimmer so I could see what the hell's going on. And a lot of filmmakers do that. And I'm like, man, it seemed like you had a lot of control over the lighting, and that's one of the hardest things to get right.
Yeah, that's Philip's expertise, is just darking things out. I mean, he should shoot for Ozark or something, because he shoots dark. I did some drone work with Cine drones on Ozark, and their DP always called it Oz Dark. So, but yeah, that's Philip's expertise, is dark, everything dark. But he's a master of that. From the beginning, he was said, all right, we're gonna put practical lamps everywhere, because then we don't have to worry about that part of lighting. The room's already lit in pieces. So whenever you're looking over here, there's a lamp back there. Whenever you're looking over here, there's a lamp back there. There's something creating depth. And then he would put these teasers, is what he called it, in the ceiling, literally like, that tall of cloth, one side dark, one side white, and then he'd put a light in the corner and shoot up into it, so the light would just fall down onto the actors wherever they were, and just created these awesome contrasts and awesome shadows everywhere. And yeah, it was a smart way to shoot, because we could move a lot faster too. So, oh, you mentioned the rain too. That was a happy accident.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we were going to shoot the film, and we noticed that the weather was calling for rain. And Philip called me one day and said, "Hey, we're gonna make it rain during the whole movie." I was like, "Yeah, good luck selling that to Ryan, the producer." And Ryan was down with it. It's people with hoses throwing rain up there. We didn't have rain towers.
Hey, really? Yeah, super effective. You made By Night's End in January, I believe, of 2019, right?
Yeah, February, March, yeah.
Okay, and it was all pre-COVID. During the next film, or anything that presumably will be kind of post-COVID, post-pandemic, and I know that getting films made on any level is extremely difficult process, but how have the added challenges of the coronavirus affected your creative plans going forward? Or what have you learned from it? Like, what's the biggest takeaway from the experience from By Night's End?
Nothing's easy afterwards. I naively kept being like, if I can just make a movie and sell it, then people will come to me, right? I'll get emails, managers. I mean, it's only been, less than a month since it's come out, but nothing's easy so far. It's, even just trying to get people to watch it. It's like, my thought beforehand was, if we can make this look and sound good with no actors, we're fine. It doesn't matter. We'll have all these things to get people to come in and watch it, and it'll be interesting enough. The visuals, will be interesting enough. I keep playing up in my marketing stuff, Milligan's character standing in front of the house, that outline of his hat and the radio and everything, hoping that will get people to click on it and go, okay, yeah, I'll watch this movie. But yeah, I don't know what the numbers are. We don't get the numbers, for another quarter or so, so I don't know how well it's doing, but it hasn't been as fruitful so far as I hoped it would be, meaning I was hoping it would be like offers afterwards. But again, it's been less than a month, so we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I guess patience is the biggest thing. The whole time trying to sell it, we sold it during quarantine, and that was obviously quarantine, all that was unfortunate, but it was a blessing in that people were looking for content. But I didn't have any patience. It was always like, is this sold? Is it coming out? When is it coming out? Just like constantly checking things. And that's another thing. Reviews, like 1 minute you have someone saying the film looks great, and in another review you have someone saying it looks like a Hallmark movie. So it's maybe to not read every single review is good.
Never read the comments, Walker.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's been a lot of learning how the game is played, and I don't know either. If maybe it's just the times right now. I don't know how things are different, but we played a game to get the movie made, and said, hey, F it, let's just do something, and we did it, and I guess I gotta keep trying to do that.
Was there anything you wanted to tease about upcoming ideas you got? You said you wrote a couple things during quarantine. Is there anything you wanted to get out there just to pique people's interest a little bit, or are you gonna keep that kind of close to the vest?
I don't know. I mean, the two things I wrote during quarantine are like, one of them's like a $30 million thing probably, and the other's like a $100 million thing. Those will probably never get made. But I also, on the other end, wrote probably $1 million budget thing for the Code series. Actually, I kind of stripped out ideas from those and the characters and wrote a feature for that's pretty contained and all in one location. No, it's all in one small town, and we kind of jump forward in time, jump back in time, and it's kind of a crime thriller mystery almost, where we're like piecing the puzzle together as we go along, like we kind of did in Codes Abided. So I'm pretty excited about that, and that's my goal, is to make that next. So we'll see.
It's sort of interesting. I didn't put this together until you sort of gave me this idea. Like, if you put all those together and sort of watch it, it feels like a complete film almost.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah. We had another one that I wanted to do. So Codes Abided was the first idea, and then I thought, what if we went back and looked at where all these characters came from? So Codes Commanded would technically be the first one. It's way, way back. Codes Dealt is kind of right before Codes Abided. And then I had a fourth one where we follow Larry, the long blonde-haired guy, but we just never got that out of the gate. Yeah, so now I just kind of took pieces from it all and figured out more of the story and where it would go. And everything that you see in Codes Abided doesn't happen in the feature script that I have, but there's pieces that if you happen to watch that short, you would recognize. So I'm excited about it. It's one of those like gritty, crimey kind of things that I love. So kind of dirty, grimy too, kind of trailer parky stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like your passion's been stamped out at all. For like you said, you're already back into being an assistant on the next thing. So
yeah, that's one of those interesting things. People keep asking me, like, if a person who wants to get into it wants advice, I'm like, just find inspiration and keep it. I'm always listening to soundtracks, and that makes ideas. Watching movies, writing. You just got to stay inspired, because you'll have your ups and downs, and you'll read a bad review, or you won't get a number you like, or you'll be on something or see someone make something. They're like, well, why aren't I doing it? But if you can just keep that inspiration, it's all good.
It's awesome, man. Well, yeah. I really want to thank you again for, first off, making a really great film that people should go see. By Night's End is out there on Prime, and other streaming sites as well, right, Walker?
Yeah, so it's on Prime, it's on Vudu, it's on Fandango now. Just came out on Google Play, and I think it'll be out on iTunes in November. At some point, they're having backup issues during quarantine and getting things up, and then I think it'll be on DVD in December, actually. So.
Ah, nice. Yeah. Thank you once again. And where can everyone find you, sir?
I'm on Instagram, just Walker Whited, not Walter White.
Not White Walker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Go check out the movie. Like we said in our review, it's just a good film, a really good film. And
you keep saying go like they're gonna go to a theater.
Go out to your couch.
Mask up.
Yeah. Oh man, if theaters go away, guys, what are we gonna do?
That's a whole different podcast.
I kind of feel like something like this, might have been better on a big screen, but like I wasn't too disappointed just watching this on my big computer.
Yeah, no, I think I would feel awkward if By Night's End was on the big screen, but I want to get to the point where I can make a movie for the big screen. I used to be like, film is stupid, just shoot digital and make it look like film, and whatever, I'll make a movie for Netflix. And now I'm like, now that I know about like compression rates and like how crappy Netflix can make things look, and you know, I'm just like, holy shit, shoot everything on film, get everything to theaters, guys. Tarantino was right.
Yeah, usually.
I think that's really interesting because, like, somebody I really admire, Steven Soderbergh, is sort of like, well, if people are going to watch it on their iPhones, I'm going to shoot it on my iPhone.
No. Thank God.
It's really interesting seeing the differing opinions on that.
Yeah.
It might be the way of the future, man. Like, I
think Quibi crashing and burning is. I don't think people are ready to only consume media in 5-minute chunks on their phones. So I'm kind of glad that project failed, even in quarantine when all people have is time.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm becoming that guy. I can't believe, like 5 years ago, if I knew I was going to say this, I'd slap myself. But I'm becoming that snob where I'm like, yeah, film has a look and it's so much better.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you once again for joining us on this episode of Behind the Lens, special presented by Film Hooligans. Jason, thank you again for. I don't know why. Thank you for joining me on our show.
Your own show.
All the time. I'm just a very thankful person, I guess. Where can everyone find you, sir?
Oh, me, right?
Yeah, that's
I'm
you.
Just Jason Yald on the Twitter.
I am at John the Host. You could follow this on Twitter at film_hooligans. We'll be uploading this to the podcasting sites as well. So for Walker Whited, Jason E. Alt, I'm John. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.